Ian Blackford's attempts to take a swipe at Boris Johnson's coronavirus strategy spectacularly backfired, as the Prime Minister noted Scotland happily accepted the record settlement Westminster authorised. The SNP Westminster leader hit out at Boris Johnson, claiming his government had failed to show Scotland the necessary financial support to overcome the coronavirus pandemic. But the Prime Minister was swift to dismantle Ian Blackford's attack, noting additional powers and billions were given to the Scottish administration. Responding to his attack during PMQs, Mr Johnson said, "He's going to need a bigger waistcoat to contain the synthetic indignation of the right honourable gentleman. I can just tell him there are the powers, the Scottish administration has the powers, but what we've also done is a record settlement for Scotland, £41 billion. In all friendship with the right honourable gentleman, with whom I'm actually quite cordial with behind the scenes, we will work with the Scottish Government to make sure we get through this together." Mr Blackford hit out at the British government as he claimed additional funding will be needed to ensure Scotland can overcome the obstacles the coronavirus pandemic. He said, "There was no new money for Scotland. Once again, you can't trust a word of what this Prime Minister says. Dodgy dealings on renovations and a distant relationship with the truth. All of this has left him weak. Last night, this UK government struggled to get measures through this House that Scotland has had for months. A Prime Minister who can't do what is needed to protect the public is no Prime Minister at all." He added, "Nobody wants further restrictions, but Scotland can't afford to be hamstrung if the Prime Minister can't act because he has 99 problems behind him." Boris Johnson saw the rebellion of 99 Tory MPs come up repeatedly in the last PMQs of the year. The rebels opposed new rules implementing the use of COVID passes to access large venues. A negative lateral flow test can also be provided to continue attending concerts, theatre shows, or other such events. Mr Johnson also confirmed Parliament will be given a say over any further restrictions needed to tackle the spread of COVID-19. Asked by Leader Keir Starmer whether Parliament would get to approve further measures, Mr Johnson said, "If further regulation is needed, of course this House will have a further say." The Prime Minister will host a Downing Street press conference this evening, as the UK braces for a staggering rise in cases over the next few days. Boris Johnson will be joined by Chris Whitty, England's Chief Medical Officer, and Dr Nicky Cannanay, Medical Director for NHS England, in a TV address at 5 p.m. this evening. The Prime Minister's spokesperson said the press conference will focus on the booster rollout rather than announcing any new restrictions. It comes as government scientists expect Britain will see between 300,000 and 400,000 new Omicron infections today alone. The figure will likely not be reflected in official daily COVID figures from the UK Health and Security Agency, UKSA, since not everyone thought to be infected with COVID will have been tested. It comes after the UKSA said earlier this week that Monday's true infection count was likely closer to 200,000 than the recorded tally of 54,661. Dr. Jenny Harries, chief executive of the UKSA, said this morning that the number of Omicron cases that Britain should expect to see in the coming days will be staggering. She added that the current surge in Omicron cases is probably the most significant threat we've had since the start of the pandemic. Ministers are scrambling to drive uptake of the booster program before Omicron spreads further, with 1 million daily cases of the new variant predicted by Christmas Day. It comes after data published last week showed that 2 doses of some vaccines offer almost no protection from an Omicron infection, although they still greatly reduce the risk of hospitalization and death. The government launched an urgent appeal for people to get their booster dose earlier this week, as ministers brought forward the target for offering a third jab to all adults in England by 1 month. All over 18s across the country will be offered the chance to book an appointment for their booster jab by the end of December. For their booster jab,